Okay guys, so the next video we're going to watch is on quadratic formula. Remember that you need to memorize this quadratic formula. I showed you a couple of songs, a couple of raps, and your extra credit was to come up with your own song, your own rap, or your own story to help you remember the quadratic formula. So far I've only had one student submit his answer and his extra credit, and he came up with a song using the A, B, C, do, 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 1, 2, 3 by the Jackson 5. It was pretty cool. I'm going to ask him for his permission to post it up online. All right, so let's look at the quadratic formula. If you find the solution set for each problem, if applicable, write the answer in radical form. Okay, radical form means that you leave the square root, or that's called the radical. Okay, radical is a square root symbol. Okay. All right, so if we look at number 1, you're going to write down what A, B, and C are equal to. We know that A is equal to 2, B is equal to -6, and C is equal to -8. Now, why is it -8 and not +8? That's right, you have to rewrite this function in standard form, and in order to do that, you had to subtract 8 from both sides. Okay, so now that I know what my A, B, and C are, I'm going to plug this into my original function. So you really have x equals to -b. What is the value of b? -6. Plus or minus the square root of b. What's the value of b again? -6 minus 4 times A times C. And I keep having to extend the square root symbol, okay, the radical. So you're going to say, all right, I'm going to zoom in as much as I can so you guys can see that nice and big. Okay, so what's the value of A? A is 2. What's the value of C? -8 all over 2A. And again, the value of A is 2. So the easy part is plugging in our A, B, and C into our quadratic formula. The hard part is actually simplifying it. So negative times a negative turns into a positive, or the opposite of B is always going to be +6 since it was a -6, plus or minus the square root of, crap, I just saw that I forgot the squared. Super important. What's -6 squared? 6 times -6 times a -6 is a +36. And then a -4 times a +2 gives you a -8. And I still have to multiply -8 times -8, so you get a +64. When you multiply two negative numbers together, you end up getting a positive number all over 4. 6 plus or minus the square root of, and then what is 36 plus 64? Well, that is equal to 100. We know what the square root of 100 is. The square root of 100 is 10. So our final answer is 6 plus or minus the square root of 10 all over 4. You could still reduce this function or fraction a little bit further, but if you can get to this point, I'm pretty happy, okay? My pre students, you should be able to reduce this function. This should be 6 over 4 plus or minus 10 over 4, which reduces to what? 3 over 2 plus or minus 5 over 2. And then you would either add them together or subtract them together and come up with two solutions. I think they are asking us to go all the way. So you would have two solutions. You would have 3/2 plus 5/2 is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8/2. And 8 divided by 2 is just 4. So that's a solution. And then you would have 3/2 minus 5/2 and that's equal to negative 3 over 2, which is approximately equal to negative 1.5. And that's another answer. That's another solution. So if I were to graph our original function, which was 2x squared minus 6x minus 8, I should get two x-intercepts at 4 and negative 1.5. So let's try that out really quickly and check our answer. I think I've shown you now that when you go to Document, Insert, you can add a calculator, graph page, list, and spreadsheet. So I'm going to say, okay, my original function was 2x squared minus 6x minus 6x minus 8. You graph the function, and I'm trying to find the x-intercepts. If you notice, my x-intercepts occur at Menu, Analyze Graph. I'm going to find my zeros. My first zero happens at negative 1, 0. And my second x-intercept happens at negative 4, 0. Okay, so when I check my answers, I should have an x-intercept of a solution of 4 and an x-intercept or a solution of negative 1. I for sure got the 4 right, but I didn't get the negative 1. So I need to go back and check my work. What is 3 minus 5, class? That's right. Negative 2, not negative 3. Okay, so what is negative 2 divided by a positive 2? Just negative 1. Now I'm happy with my solutions. Okay, next problem, number 3. I had to sneeze, sorry. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for blessing me. All right, so this one is not in standard form, so I need to move the x squared to the other side. In order to move it, I'm going to rewrite it by putting negative x squared plus 6x plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, in this case, a is equal to negative 1, b is equal to 6, and c is equal to 1. We're going to plug these numbers into my quadratic function. So what's the opposite of b? Negative 6 plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Okay, when you simplify this quadratic formula, you get 6 squared, which is 36. A negative times a negative turns into a positive 4, all over negative 2. We know that 36 plus 4 is 40, all over negative 2. Okay, your test tomorrow is going to expect you to be able to at least get to this point. Okay, the next point is to be able to actually solve for your values. So you can have x is equal to negative 6 plus the square root of 40 over negative 2, or you could have x is equal to negative 6 minus the square root of 40 all over negative 2, and we'd have to simplify that. Okay, I think I'm going to do number 4 just because I have space for that, and then I don't think I have space for number 2 and 13, plus I'm already coming up to 15 minutes. So let's try number 4. Number 4, I have to move the x squared to the other side. So I really have x squared minus 10x minus 25 is equal to 0. The value of a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 10, and c is equal to negative 25. That rain, man, it's cutting down hard. Okay, so you're going to say x is equal to the opposite of b. The opposite of b is a positive 10, plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times c, negative 25, all over 2 times 1. 10 plus or minus the square root of 100. A negative times a negative turns into a positive. 25 times 4 gives you 100 all over 2. So 100 plus 100 is 200 all over 2. Your test again tomorrow is going to ask you to be able to go this far. Thanks, guys. Try number 2 and number 13 on your own.